Building a shed without a required permit can unleash a storm of problems. Inspectors can issue stop work orders, slap you with fines, or even demand demolition. Complaints from neighbors or routine surveys can trigger investigations instantly. Many homeowners discover the problem only when they try to sell their home or file an insurance claim. An unpermitted shed can drag down your property value. Buyers hesitate when they learn a structure lacks legal approval. ShedDrafts.com presents. Do you need a permit to build a shed on your property? You may feel it is quite straightforward to build a shed. Select a spot on your land, buy some lumber, and start construction. But it is easy to forget what may be the most critical part of crafting any outdoor structure. Did you stop and wonder if you needed a building permit? Permits are not just tedious paperwork. They exist to ensure that any new structure on a property meets safety, zoning, and construction standards. Understanding permit rules saves time, prevents costly mistakes, and reduces headaches later. What is a shed construction permit? A shed permit is an official approval from your local building or planning department that allows you to build a shed legally. A permit proves that your shed meets all required safety codes. Permits ensure your shed doesn't collapse under snow loads, block drainage, or violate property lines. In most regions, small sheds built on skids and only used for storage do not require building permits. Large or complex structures often do need a permit. A permit instantly creates a legal paper trail that can reshape your taxes and determine your fate in an insurance claim. Insurance companies will slam the door on coverage the moment they discover a structure was built without approval. Learn the permit rules or risk walking into costly legal battles later. What decides if a shed needs a permit? The following major factors influence the need for a permit. Foundation type. The type of shed foundation you use can require you to apply for a permit. Most areas will need a permit for any permanent foundation, like a concrete slab. Homeowners Association regulations. The Homeowners Association in any region can have its own local building regulations in addition to the city or county rules. Check with your HOA to make sure you understand all the laws governing changes to your property. Attached versus detached. A shed that is connected to your house or an existing building may be treated differently by the building council compared to one that is detached. Location. The placement of your shed has a great impact on the need for a permit. Every area may have its own limits about how much percentage of your land can be covered in buildings and how far the buildings should be from certain markers. Electricity. Running electricity to your shed will usually need a permit and an inspection. Size. Usually, smaller sheds don't need a permit. Sheds with a floor area of less than 100 square feet may not need a permit. However, the rules can vary from state to state and even from county to county. Larger sheds with a footprint of over 250 square feet may need a permit or may not be allowed at all in some places. Purpose. Any shed that is going to be utilized as a place of business or residence will definitely need a permit. Your local zoning department will usually come and inspect the shed after construction to ensure that all the codes have been followed. Storage sheds mostly have less stringent regulations, but the regulations will vary from place to place. Weather. Areas with particularly rough weather, like heavy rain, winds, or snow, usually have special regulations for anchoring down buildings. There may also be rules about the minimum depth of the foundation below the frost line. Building codes restrict shed floor area and height. Building codes decide how large and tall your shed can be. The International Building Code lays out strict rules for structural integrity, accessibility, and safety to prevent hazards and protect the public. Most permit offices draw a hard line at shed size, and they usually let anything under 200 square feet slip by without a permit. But every city or county can rewrite the rules and enforce its own limits. Measure your shed's floor area from wall to wall and ignore all roof overhangs to get an accurate number for square footage. Measure its height from ground to the roof peak. Some councils demand the measurement from natural grade, while others insist on a finished, level grade. Your shed might stay under the size cap, but its height can still trigger headaches. A tall shed can block your neighbor's view, throw heavy shade over their yard, and instantly flip your project into permit-required territory. You can protect yourself by designing your shed slightly below the maximum allowed floor area and height, which keeps inspectors away and prevents neighbor complaints from erupting later. Zoning laws, setbacks, and property lines. Zoning laws decide what you can build on your land. Different zones, like agricultural, residential, and commercial, each carry their own rules, so you must confirm exactly how your land is classified before you lift a hammer. Zoning laws still apply even when your shed escapes the permit requirement. These rules control how you use your land and dictate precisely where you can place a structure. Setbacks force you to keep a clear distance between your shed and property lines, houses, fences, wells, and septic systems, and they exist to maintain fire safety, privacy, and utility access. Most areas demand at least a 5-foot setback from the property lines that surround your shed. Some cities ban front yard sheds outright and push all accessory buildings into the backyard. You can't build inside easements, flood zones, or utility corridors either, no matter how small your structure is. Violating setbacks invites swift enforcement, and officials may order you to relocate or even demolish your shed. Some regions also limit how many secondary structures you can place on a single lot. Avoid costly mistakes and last-minute surprises by studying your local building and zoning codes before you build anything. Foundations and anchoring. Your local authorities judge your shed as temporary or permanent based on its foundation. A shed resting on skids or concrete block stays in the temporary category, but once you anchor it to a poured concrete slab, you push it into permanent structure territory. Permanent sheds almost always trigger permit requirements because they reshape your property and influence drainage, weight loads, and long-term stability. Your region's weather conditions drive the strictness of foundation laws. Hurricane and tornado zones demand embedded bolts, heavy-duty tie-down straps, or ground anchors that fasten the shed into the foundation. These anchoring systems stop your shed from ripping apart or launching across the yard during violent storms. Soil type, frost depth, and local wind speeds can all influence the rules you must follow. Utility lines require extra permits. The moment you add lighting or plumbing to your shed, you activate a new level of permitting requirements. Running electricity forces you to install proper conduits, grounding systems, and circuit protection that satisfy strict electrical codes. Adding plumbing requires approved venting, drainage, and water supply lines. Installing any HVAC unit demands safe fuel handling and adequate ventilation. Each added system pulls its own permits and inspections into the process. Local electrical codes dictate everything from wire types to burial depths to breaker sizes. Plumbing permits check that wastewater flows safely and meet sanitation standards. Gas permits step in the second you introduce fuel-fired heaters or gas lines. Even if your shed escapes a building permit, every utility you connect will almost certainly drag one right back into the picture. How to apply for a shed permit. There are some basic details you must gather before you fill out the permit application. List down all possible details about your shed. How long, wide, and tall will it be? What will you use it for? What kind of foundation will it have? Will it have a loft? What kind of lumber and siding will you use? You must prepare a site plan that clearly shows your lot lines, every existing structure, and the exact spot where you want your shed to sit. You also need to submit shed drawings, elevations, and foundation details that prove you know exactly what you're building. Most building departments now push you toward online applications. You can Google shed permit application in and find the application form. You fill out the form with details of materials, dimensions, and the intended use of the shed. Then you pay a review fee to get the process rolling. Officials then examine every detail to confirm you follow zoning rules, setback requirements, and building codes. Small projects often fly through the system in days, while larger or more complex sheds can sit in review for weeks. When the department approves your plans, they issue a permit that you may need to display at the construction site. Inspectors then visit at key points after the foundation is set, when the frame stands tall, and when the project reaches completion. Each past inspection pushes you closer to an officially compliant, legal structure. How much time and money will a permit cost? Permit fees vary from place to place. Some regions charge a simple flat rate, such as $30, no matter what style of shed you build. Other regions charge by project value, such as $12 per $1,000 of construction cost. A $2,000 shed then racks up a $24 permit fee. Electrical or plumbing upgrades trigger additional trade permit costs. Time taken to receive the permit depends on how busy your municipality feels and how complicated your project looks. Simple sheds sometimes get same-day approval. Big city departments or peak construction seasons can stretch review times into several weeks. Clear plans and complete paperwork always speed things up. During inspection, examiners verify your shed size, foundation, and compliance with local zoning rules. They may request changes, corrections, or clarifications. You should respond fast and keep copies of every communication. Strong cooperation accelerates approval dramatically. Once your shed passes the final inspection, preserve all records. These documents prove your shed is legal and meets code. Buyers, lenders, and insurers often ask for them, and they protect you during future warranty claims or renovations. Flood zones, historic districts, and HOAs. Some land parcels face layers of extra oversight. If your land sits in a flood zone, authorities may demand elevation certificates or flood vents. These rules shield structures from disaster damage and protect your insurance eligibility. Some regions ban construction below base flood elevation or require pier foundations. Historic districts guard their appearance fiercely. You often need a certificate of appropriateness before you get a building permit. Reviewers check your materials, roof pitch, and colors to ensure your shed blends seamlessly with surrounding architecture. Violations can trigger immediate stop work orders. Homeowners associations impose their own restrictions. They may control your shed size, shape, color, and placement. Some require written approval before construction can proceed. Violating HOA rules can lead to fines or forced removal, so you must confirm their standards up front. What happens if a shed is built without a permit? Building a shed without a required permit can unleash a storm of problems. Inspectors can issue stop work orders, slap you with fines, or even demand demolition. Complaints from neighbors or routine surveys can trigger investigations instantly. Many homeowners discover the problem only when they try to sell their home or file an insurance claim. An unpermitted shed can drag down your property value. Buyers hesitate when they learn a structure lacks legal approval. Insurance companies often deny claims involving unpermitted construction. If you have already built without permission, you should contact your building department immediately. Many areas offer retroactive permits. You submit drawings, pay penalties, and undergo inspections. The process costs more than doing things correctly the first time, but it usually prevents forced teardown. Converting a shed into a living space. When you convert a shed into a workspace, studio, or guest room, you dramatically change its legal classification. Adding heating, plumbing, or a sleeping area transforms it into a habitable structure and triggers stricter building and energy codes. You must meet requirements for insulation, ventilation, and fire protection. Permit demands intensify for livable sheds. Authorities treat them like accessory dwelling units, which require full building, electrical, and plumbing permits. Good planning helps you avoid violations and expensive retrofits. If you intend to use a shed as a full-time living or working space, you should consult an architect or code specialist early. They help you design safely, calculate structural loads, and prepare documents for approval. Legal and inspected ADUs add value to your property and provide safe, long-term use. Common permit mistakes to avoid. Many homeowners assume that small sheds never need permits, and that mistake creates chaos. Every region defines small differently, and shed placement or height can still trigger a permit. Skipping a site plan or mismeasuring setbacks frequently leads to costly relocations. Starting construction before receiving approval almost always backfires. Inspectors can order immediate shutdowns or demand partial demolition. You must wait for written approval before you build. Hiring unlicensed contractors or ignoring electrical rules invites serious hazards. Even simple sheds can become unsafe without proper anchoring or wiring. You protect yourself by learning local requirements and working with qualified professionals when required. Build a legal, long-lasting shed. Getting a shed permit may feel annoying, but it shields you from future headaches. A permitted shed meets safety standards, stands strong against storms, and adds true value to your property. The process also keeps your project consistent with local rules and respectful of neighbors. You should contact your local building or planning department early. They can clarify size limits, setbacks, and utility requirements in minutes. One quick call can save weeks of stress. When you follow the legal path, you build with confidence. You protect your investment, your safety, and your property value. For more details on shed construction, visit sheddrafts.com.